In a sun-soaked town where the streets were narrow, the houses were humble, and the echoes of children's laughter blended with the distant hum of life, there lived a boy named Aaron Malik. Aaron wasn't born with much, no expensive boots, no private coaches, no polished training grounds, but he was born with something far more powerful, an obsession, not the kind that fades with age, not the kind that dampens when reality grows sharp. His obsession was as stubborn as the sunrise, as constant as breath. He wanted to play international football, not just locally, not just for his state. He wanted to wear his country's colors. He wanted the anthem. He wanted the world. Aaron's first football wasn't a real football at all. It was stitched from worn-out cloth, tied together with twine, reshaped every time it broke open. The neighborhood kids teased him about it, but Aaron didn't care because that ball, fragile as it was still the center of his universe. Every dawn, when the world was still asleep and the sky was painted gray, Aaron would sneak out barefoot. His mother sometimes watched from the window, shaking her head but smiling. She didn't understand football, but she understood passion. And passion, she always said, was a language older than words. Aaron practiced until the sun climbed high enough to burn, until his feet blistered, until his chest heaved. He'd kick the ragged ball at a cracked wall 100 times, 1,000 times, dreaming of stadium lights, dreaming of green fields stretching wider than he could imagine. He didn't have much, but he had a dream big enough to fill the empty spaces. Not everyone saw the fire the way Aaron did. His father, Rehan, worked long days as a mechanic. He believed in practical things, steady income, steady skills, steady life. Football to him wasn't a career. It wasn't a future. It wasn't anything more than a boy's distraction. So whenever he saw Aaron drenched in sweat, practicing alone with that ball of rags, frustration tightened his face. Enough with this football nonsense, Rehan would shout. Dreams don't feed a family, but Aaron would simply lower his head and continue. Not out of rebel lion, but because something deep inside asked him to move forward, to try again, to chase the impossible. And so the conflict began, not loud, not dramatic, but constant like a dripping tap. At age 12, Aaron entered his first real football trial. It was the district under-14 selection, held at a dusty field 10 kilometers away. He went alone, walking most of the distance, carrying borrowed boots 2 sizes too big. When he reached the trial ground, he saw boys in real jerseys, real studs, with parents cheering from the side. For the first time, his confidence flickered, but he played. He ran like he had never run before. He fought for every ball. He chased every pass, but the oversized shoes slowed him down. His touches were sloppy. His shots went wide. The selectors looked at him only once, then never again. By the end of the day, the list was pinned to a board. Aaron scanned it. His name wasn't there. It was the first time he felt his dream cracking inside him. But he didn't cry, not in front of others. He walked all 10 kilometers back home, the weight of the world pressing on his small shoulders. That night, when everyone slept, he cried into his pillow not because he failed, but because he wasn't given a real chance. Some stories change because of accidents. Aaron's changed because of a man named Coach Parham. Parham was a retired local footballer, someone who had once been close to playing national football before an injury stole the future from him. He often sat near the old ground, watching kids play, offering advice only when asked. One morning, Parham saw Aaron practicing alone. The rag ball, the bare feet, the determination. He watched silently for an hour. Then he approached the boy. "Why are you training alone?" he asked. Aaron shrugged. "Because no one wants to train with someone who can't play well." Parham smiled, a slow, knowing smile. "Then let me train you." Aaron's eyes widened. "Why me?" "Because," Parham replied, "I see something in you that others don't. Fire. And fire can burn through anything." And so began Aaron's real journey. Training under Parham was nothing like before. He taught Aaron discipline, the kind that breaks excuses. He taught him technique, the kind that turns raw talent into skill. He taught him endurance, the kind that makes legs scream and lungs ache. Aaron vomited during training more than once. He fainted once. He bruised his shins almost daily. But every time he fell, Parham made him stand again. Pain, Parham said, is the tax you pay for greatness. Slowly, the barefoot boy with the rag ball became someone else. Someone sharper, someone faster, someone hungrier. A year later, Aaron stood again on the same dusty ground where he once failed. This time, he had proper boots, second-hand, worn, slightly torn, but precious. This time, he wasn't alone. Parham stood behind the fence, arms crossed, eyes proud. Aaron stepped onto the field with a new fire. His dribbling was smooth. His passing was clean. He scored goals that silenced the crowd. And when the final list came out, his name wasn't last. His name wasn't in the middle. His name was at the very top. That night, he didn't cry in sadness. He cried in disbelief. Not long after, Aaron discovered a truth that shook him. His mother had been secretly saving money little by little, coin by coin, so he could afford travel, kit fees, and tournament costs. She had skipped meals, taken extra stitching work, and cut her own expenses. One evening, she gave him a small envelope filled with savings. "For your dream," she whispered. Aaron broke down. He held her and vowed never to disappoint her. But success isn't a straight road. When Aaron was 15, tragedy struck. Coach Parham suffered a stroke. He survived, but he couldn't walk properly again, let alone train Aaron. The boy visited him every day. And one day, Parham grabbed his hand tightly. "Don't stop," he said. "Promise me you'll keep going." Aaron nodded through tears. From that day on, every practice he did alone felt like he was practicing for the both of them. At 17, Aaron reached the biggest opportunity of his life. The National Football Academy selection. Only 20 players out of thousands would make it. Scouts from professional clubs would be watching. It was his chance. Maybe his only chance. The trials were brutal. Players were faster, stronger, more experienced. Some mocked him for being from a small town. Some tried to intimidate him with tackles. But Aaron remembered Parham's words. He remembered his mother's sacrifices. He remembered every morning he woke before sunrise. He played the best football of his life. A spectacular curling shot. A clean assist through 3 defenders. A slide tackle that saved a sure goal. On the final day, after a nerve-wracking wait, Aaron's name was announced. He had made it. He was going to the academy. He was on the road to becoming a professional. But life isn't kind just because you try. At 19, during a critical match against a top-tier club's youth team, Aaron made a mistake. A bad back pass. One moment of panic. One lapse. The opponents scored. Aaron's team lost. His coach benched him. Critics called him overrated. Teammates blamed him silently. The weight of that mistake crushed him. He stopped smiling, stopped sleeping well, stopped believing. Until one night, he received a call. It was Parham. His voice was weak but filled with fire. "One mistake doesn't define you," he said. "A warrior is not someone who never loses. A warrior is someone who rises after losing." That call saved Aaron's spirit. Aaron trained harder than ever, hours beyond what the academy required. He rebuilt his confidence, one drill at a time. During a national under-20 championship, he finally got a second chance. 90 minutes, crowd roaring, scoreline tied. In the last 10 seconds, Aaron made a run from midfield, dodging one defender, then another. He chipped the goalkeeper with perfect precision. The stadium erupted. Commentators shouted his name. Coaches rushed to him. Teammates lifted him. Redemption had arrived. At 21, Aaron earned his first professional contract with a major club. He wasn't rich yet. He wasn't famous yet. But he was finally in the world he dreamed about. He sent part of his first salary to his parents, bought new medicines for Coach Parham, and for himself he bought a brand new football, not because he needed it, but because he wanted to honor the rag ball that started it all. Aaron's big moment came earlier than he expected. At 23, after a season of consistent, brilliant performances, he received the call. The call every player dreams of. He was selected for the national team. The day he put on the jersey, white and gold, bold and shining, he felt like he was standing at the top of the world. He thought of his mother, of his father, who now watched his games secretly with pride, of Parham, who cried quietly when he saw Aaron in national colors. Aaron wasn't just a boy anymore. He had become what he once dreamed of. The stadium lights were blinding. The anthem echoed across the field. Aaron stood in line with the seniors, heart pounding like a thunderstorm. When the whistle blew, he played with the ferocity of a lion. He wasn't the best player that day, but he was the hungriest. In the 78th minute, the coach signaled him. Aaron stepped in as a substitute. And in the 89th minute, the moment that would define his legacy, he scored a breathtaking goal from outside the box. Crowds erupted, commentators screamed his name, his teammates swarmed him. At that moment, the boy who played with a rag ball became a man who scored on the international stage. Years later, Aaron became one of the most respected players in the world, not because of fame, not because of trophies, but because of the journey, the struggles, the sacrifices, the failures turned into fire. He built academies for underprivileged kids. He made sure no boy had to play with a rag ball ever again. He took Coach Parham everywhere as an honored mentor. His father eventually said, with a trembling voice, "You proved me wrong." And I've never been happier to be when Aaron's final match for the country came when he was 34. The stadium was packed. The sky glowed orange. And as he stepped out, he heard chants not of his name, but of a message. Before the kickoff, he whispered to himself, "For the boy I used to be." The match ended. He took off his jersey, folded it gently, placed it against his heart. He had conquered everything he once thought impossible. Aaron Malik, the barefoot child, the dreamer, the fighter, the warrior, became a symbol for millions. Because his story wasn't about talent alone. It wasn't about luck. It wasn't even about football. It was about chasing something so fiercely that the universe had no choice but to open paths for you. And somewhere in a small town, another boy picked up a worn-out ball and whispered, "One day, I will be like him."